All right. Hi, everybody. Just so you know, today I will be doing the Crypto Corner solo. Uh, Jace is in a conference out in Sedona, and he'll join us next time. But he said make sure you say hello to everybody and wishes everybody well. We'll get started. And any comments that you have, what we'll do is I started to accumulate more and more of them. And what I noticed is that we want uh, we're going to probably start to circle back a little bit and just go to get some more of the basics in. So anybody who's just starting out or understands about, why we think XRP and XLM, Sologenic and Corium, and the whole family we talk about is going to do well, and where you can capitalize on it. So you're understanding that, but how do you get started? And just kind of more of the basics to lay a good foundation for you. So that's something that we'll probably do in the next show when Jace is here, because him running the academy, he has a lot of insight on that, and then I can touch on that as I started and what I did to get started in the crypto space and starting to invest. But the big the big day today is it's Liberation Day, right? That's what President Trump had said. That today is going to be Liberation Day. That he's going to be adding the tariffs on autos and some different industries out there, the countries that it's going to affect, which is going to be many more. So this is and could be a stirrup, on global trade in a ton of different countries. So really interesting. But when you see how the crypto market reacted, I mean, on the whole, it's up a little bit. And when you look at the markets, the stock market, the bond market, from where it started, say when his inauguration was on the 20th, to a low where it went since the inauguration this year, and now where it's at now, it's actually it's moving back up. But what we do see is we see a ton of uncertainty, right? A ton of volatility. And so why is that? And what's happening? I think it's, there are a lot of reasons for that. And it's because this hasn't been done for a very long time with tariffs. And now that President Trump is bringing them back around, you know, we're seeing it in now a more, evolved, a more highly, technological society and globe. So with these tariffs, it's kind of more of a, kind of a blunt force instrument. It's not through technology so much, but I like the way he is using it. He is using it to really disrupt everything, which is fine, because I do think, one of the reasons why we had the why the election the way it did go the way it went is because we wanted someone who was going to be a disruptor, right? We wanted someone who was going to come in and not be the normal politician and say they were going to do something and not do anything, right? Or do something totally different and not really representing his constituents or the will of the American people. And so, my take before I get into kind of the meat and potatoes of the show is that, as far as how I look at it, is they're reciprocal tariffs. So if we're getting charged a tariff for our stuff to sell in whatever country, 25%, then they should have a 25% tariff to sell in our country. And I think that, I don't know why that's not fair. I think that it's 100% fair. And those countries are doing those tariffs on our products, not for the good of the American American people, or the American made products. It's not done for, it's not done, I'm sure, to hurt their own people. So now if we're doing tariffs to tariff their products coming in that are being imported and sold, I just think that it will have the same effect, just like they had massive revenue growth, whether you look at, China or India or whoever, and which is crazy because our allies do the same to us, our sort of friends, right? They tariff the shit out of our stuff, but we weren't doing it to them. It doesn't even make sense. I didn't even know that until Trump brought that to light. So it's not like he's saying your tariff is 25% and we're going to do a 250% tariff. He's not doing that. And you know what? In the short term, because we just kind of been getting screwed for so long, it's just natural for a percentage of America to think it's unfair, and what are you doing this to this country for, and what are you doing this, and totally bypass the fact that they literally are tariffing American products. So again, I don't understand that thinking on why that's not fair, but I look at it like those tariffs, if they want the products over there, or they want their products in here, one, it'll promote American manufacturing back, because if we don't want to pay the increase in, say, goods from China or India, then don't buy those. Buy American products. And if we need more American products and the market demands more American products, then we should have more manufacturing in America. And there was a big number. I don't know if there was a mistake in how they said it, because it was in the trillions, but let's just say it's $1 trillion, right? It's not even as what they said, but it's $1 trillion of investment that's coming in from Saudi Arabia, and all different countries are making investment in America to build American factories so they don't get hit with the tariffs. So what does that do? So it's bringing manufacturing back, it's bringing revenue into America. And just let's say they didn't even invest. Let's just say it's a country that they're importing, and with those type of tariffs, they're already approximating 100 billion in revenue being created where there was none. And I know we can say, 100 billion in revenue doesn't seem like a lot because we've been printing trillions, and we're so used to hearing the $1 trillion number that you don't realize that 100 billion is a lot of money. And to create that out of thin air just by doing a reciprocal fair tariff is, to me, I think it's almost a no-brainer. And so again, nothing's going to be done overnight. It don't fix everything overnight. So any of that, I think when President Trump says, he can end the war in a day, and this, what you have to, what he's saying is he can do it, and he's going to do it, quickly, probably quicker than any other politician would, if they would even try to do it, because it's such a moneymaker. So, but him saying he wants to end the wars, he will go in and do it quickly, meaning if both sides come to the table, he's not a magician. He needs both sides to come to the table, and he will broker a very quick, peace deal, or he will broker a great trade deal if we're not going to get screwed when we send our exports out and they're being imported somewhere else. So I think it's a great tactic to use with negotiation. And I think if the negotiations fall apart, we still are creating a revenue stream, which is huge in the hundreds of billions of dollars, if not probably trillions, but also brings manufacturing here with tax incentives that companies that, with all the regulation and bullshit from the prior administration, that were leaving the country. And Trump said, yeah, man, you could leave the country, but you're going to be taxed on the way out, and anything you want to sell back in this country is going to be tariffed. It's just not worth it for them. So now they're keeping their manufacturing plants here, right? So there's a downstream effect that we're not taking into account. And so I think that just if you monetized the manufacturing companies that did not take their business outside the United States like they were going to do, right? If we kept what we had here, that's probably in the hundreds of billions over, say, a year of doing business, or a few years, whatever it may be. But I think that, yes, we're going to have some disruption. We're going to have some uncertainty. The markets are volatile. the crypto market's volatile, the bond market's volatile. That's why it's nice to have, when you have a diversified portfolio, you want to make sure you have, look where gold is. Gold is at what, 3,000, I think it was 170 the last time I checked. And, just not the November before last, what was that, 1620, 1630 on the spot price. Now it's at over 3,100. And and every time I used to sell physical gold, every time we said it was going to go over 3,000, everybody on the phone said the same thing. No, get out of here. It's not going to do that. It's not going to do this. It's not going to do that. But with everything going on, and the dollar weakening the way it is because of all the printing of money, there was no other way for gold to go but up, because I think a lot of the suppression mechanisms on physical gold are slowly being kind of they're kind of dissipating until they disappear, and then kind of the chains come off and it moves up. And again, this is not a exact science. Markets are going to react the way they react. But what we did see is markets reacting in a very odd way. We know the country was very fragile. The country probably still is to some extent. We just have a strong leader in place. But, we were at a fragile point because of, what was happening at the border. Hi, Ned. How are you? Thanks for joining. But, everything that was going on from, the border to wars being started to printing money to all the waste, abuse, and fraud that we're now seeing in the government, everything that was going on. And then the stock market was hitting all new highs, right? And so it's nice when you see your 401k going up. But again, when you see the markets reacting in a weird way, or when they they're raising interest rates and then the markets are still going up, when that's supposed to be an inverse relationship. So everything was happening in an odd way. So the fact that I have it just here, when Trump got inaugurated on the 20th of January, the market was at 44,000, a little over. Came down over the last few months to about 40,800, right? So about 3,000 and change down, and now it's at 42,127, right around there, give or take a few bucks. But now it's on its way back up. So I would have liked to see it shake out a little bit more and kind of really evaluate properly. But if we're going to start to create more and more money, not only from the tariffs that are going to start to go in place, but also from what Doge is actually created by finding fraud, abuse, and misspending, or whatever the other word was. But if they're finding $100 billion and we're stopping sending money all over the place, and for ridiculous stuff, and you start to combine what the tariffs are going to start to create, the long-term effect of what the tariffs are going to create, right? Bringing manufacturing back. And what if we start making our own pharmaceuticals again, right? And what if the MAHA, right, that Make America Healthy Again with Kennedy Jr., what if we start to straighten out everything? And so when we do start to formulate our own pharmaceuticals, they get done in the right way where they're not so harmful to us. And so now America has that. So we don't have to worry about going outside the country to enemy, right? Like China, they're a threat. But we have to go to them for our medication. If they want to stop sending certain stuff, we're in trouble. Just like when we needed with COVID, when we needed the masks and all that stuff, we didn't know what to do because they were all made in China, right? And they were keeping them. So when you start to see a lot of that stuff, what are the long-term effects of what he's putting in place? So sometimes you do go through short-term pain for long-term pleasure or reward, and you know what? That's in most anything you're going to do. If you're going to put programs in place that are ultimately going to do well, and you're changing, the status quo, you're going to go through uncertainty, right? You're going to go through instability. You're going to go through, and you just have to manage it as best possible. And from what I see is, uh, you know, they've been pretty straight out and said that there's going to be some, discomfort for a little bit, and that's what this is. The uncertainty, it causes discomfort because anytime you see your 401k go up and down, or the markets go up and down, and then you hear the news kind of reiterating that they don't know what they're doing, and this is all kind of being done willy-nilly and all that. It's just what it does. It creates more and more instability, right, and more uncertainty. So we're going to have that until everything shakes out a little bit. But I think we'll really see the benefits of it. And let's see. So Annette, where are you? All right. What do you think about how long it will take? The short-term pain for long-term pleasure, months, years. So, all right. So I think that what we will see is, I think that once the tariffs go in place, I think that we're going to start to see, we'll see a little bit more instability. So I think it's probably going to go, we're probably going to see some fluctuation. And then it'll start to minimize, probably. I would think probably once we get to the summer months, it'll start to kind of regulate a little bit, because either the tariffs will be in place for a while, or the countries that are tariffing us, the trade deals are going to start to take place, where Trump's not one to plan stuff out for months. He's one to go, like, you want to, we'll fly over and meet here today. I'm coming today. And so I just think that, when you see, getting the tariffs in and doing it. So I think over the next few weeks, we're going to start to see, if the tariffs stay in place, we are going to see, without a doubt, some more fluctuating up and down. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the markets are going to get hit. It just means that they're going to go up and down, up and down. And so when you look at it, the whole point of it is not to get shaken out or get scared where you start to sell at losses. That's not where you want to be at. You want to know that it's going to be volatile. And so if you are putting money in, you want to maybe do it as a kind of dollar cost average. So if it's up, you're buying some. If it goes down, you're buying some, and you get a good dollar cost average. And so when the markets do stabilize and start to go up, you have a nice cost basis, and you can get into the black a lot quicker. But I would think that, I think it'll probably take a few months for the tariffs and some trade deals to start to take effect. And then from there on, I think that's when we'll start to see support levels in the markets over the summer months, probably July, August. I would say June, it'll start to stabilize. July and August, we'll start to see support levels in the different markets. And then come fourth quarter, we'll start to see, we'll start to see the fruits of it go. And then I think at some point it'll get that where it starts to go up, and then we'll get the stiff up curve, and then it'll kind of plateau. But I definitely think that throughout this year, that's how we'll see it. We're going to start to see, we'll see fluctuation, a little less fluctuation come June. It'll start to stabilize. July, August, create support levels, meaning the support levels are every time it fluctuates up, and when it comes down, it hits that level and then goes back up. It doesn't break that support level. And then that's when in the fourth quarter, I think we break through any resistance level, right? The resistance level is the kind of the line up here, where every time it goes up, it comes back down, support level hits and goes back up. So I think it'll start to break through the resistance level on the way up. And I think that's going to hold true for the stocks and some of the cryptos that aren't working, that don't work counter, that aren't hedges. And so you'll start to see that type of fluctuation. But again, if you have physical gold, and you're hedging, which you always should be doing. We talked about that even way in the fourth quarter last year when we started doing crypto corner, is that physical gold is something where you have 10 or 15% of your portfolio, maybe 20% of it in physical gold, because it's a great hedge against uncertainty and inflation, and we were headed there. And so it would have been really good to have. So the gains you have in gold, any type of loss that you do take in the market or the dollar, bonds or whatever, at least it hedges against it. And so if you're almost at, if you were in back when it was, in 1800, and now it's at over almost 3,200, you got to realize that's probably like a 75-80% gain. So that really offsets any losses that were, from in the market, even no matter what market you look at. Nothing came down that much. So it's a great way to hedge. So always make sure you're hedging. Never overly weight in one area, and you want to make sure you're diversified and you're rebalanced. But yeah, that's a good question, Annette. And again, this is just speculation on my part. But seeing how things kind of move, that's what I'm thinking, because this is one president that does not do things in a slow fashion. He does several things at a time. He puts several people to work at a time, doing what they need to do, trusting that they're going to do the job that he hired them to do, and he lets them do the job. He's not going to micromanage. If they don't do the job, he just fires, and he'll have to rehire. But I think that the people that he does have in place are all in the same and kind of running the same playbook, which is important, that he has everyone in line. And I think that once these things get in place, it'll be, I think it's going to really, I think in all the markets, it's going to be really good. And so, you do want to make sure that you're watching, for like people who are looking to buy cars. The car tariffs are going to be going in for the auto industry, right? Those tariffs are going to be going in place. So if that happens, and then there's a shortage in demand on cars, and you were going to look to buy, I don't know, a Toyota or a Kia or whatever country, it's coming from, that we're going to tariff, the prices on those cars may be up 25%, right? Because the tariff is 25%. So that may be the price. So if you really wanted to say to buy a Kia, don't buy a Kia, right? Go buy an American car, and you won't have to pay the price. So, that's, which is the other thing that is weird to me, is that if you don't want to pay the increased prices, then buy an American, buy a different product. Like you don't have to buy that, right? It makes no sense to me. Car is a car, and it's you buy an American car that's made in America, and what'll happen is when we get the manufacturing back, we'll have everything. Maybe Americans will be more bought into the fact of, let's stop looking to buy the shittiest made product because it's the cheapest, and make a good American and buy a good American product for a little bit more money and support America. And this may be the catalyst to get us going down that road. So but thanks for the question, Ned, I appreciate it. But okay, so let's go through this. When you look at what's going to happen with the tariffs, and the U.S. really is looking to, we're going to impose the tariffs, and they're aggressive, but they're reciprocal, right? So they're aggressive, and so it's going to be on the automakers starting on the 3rd, and the markets. They're already reacting, right? You have everybody who has their opinion, and some of the leaders around the globe are starting to scramble, right? And they want to see what's going to happen, because once that happens, and they don't get, because the U.S. is the honeypot, right? And they're used to getting a free ride and just sticking it to America, laughing behind our back, and then making like they're friends to our face. And so with this, there's no reason why we still can't be friends, because we're doing a reciprocal deal. But they're scrambling a little bit a lot of it, because their revenue stream is going to take a hit. And so the countries that are trying to be Trumpian, right, and try to bluff and say, oh, you want to, whatever you want to do with a trade war, we're willing to do the same thing, right? We'll put tariffs on you. We'll do this and we'll fight to the end, and that's fine. That you can bluster all you'd like, but the fact is, a lot of those countries don't really have, number one, the backbone to do that, and we know Trump does. That's number one. Number two, a lot of those economies aren't as strong as as perceived. There are some of those countries that are just they're hanging on as well, and they're doing the best they can. And so a lot of it, they're trying to use the same negotiating tactic, but you're working out of the playbook of somebody who you're negotiating against. So that's his thing. So you're not going to. I don't think they're gonna win doing that. And when you look at tariffs and what they can do, yes, can they drive prices a little bit higher? Sure. But again, this is the short-term pain that we talk about, right? So you can buy you want to buy the same type of things that are moving up in price. You're more than welcome to do that. But what I would do is say, hey, during this short period of time, we're all on budgets now, or most of us, right? Or we're all feeling the pinch. So maybe you do things in a different way where, you eat a little differently if it's about food, right? And you do things like that, knowing it's going to be for a short period of time. And I'm sure, most of us could do most anything for a few months, and see if we could, kind of just wait it out until everything starts to stabilize. And so if you're looking to buy a car, also, instead of waiting for the tariffs to actually hit, and now we see 25% higher prices on certain cars, or maybe a car that you want, how about you trade your car in, or that you have now, and go get a car before prices move? So you do have options. And then you could go to a different brand of car, that's, say, an American car that may not be getting hit with tariffs. Now, prices may go up on those too if their parts are coming from China for those cars, right? Until again, that long-term effect where we do get manufacturing back here, and we're making the chips and the fenders and the metal, or whatever it may be, that completes making a car. We have those manufacturing plants here in America. There's going to be little kind of, I would say, hiccups like that. And again, that all goes to the uncertainty and volatility that's got to be baked into the cake at this point. We know that this is going to happen. So, what strategy is, either you move into a new car sooner than you may want, or you wait a little bit and go in a little later. But that being said, when your trade-in will probably be worth more money too, if the car's worth more money. So a lot of times it'll kind of balance out a little bit. But again, you want to make sure you know all your options and when the tariffs are going to be hitting, and then really what your situation is. If you're a new family and your wife is going to have triplets, and you have, a two-seater, right? You may want to, and you're going to need it. You're going to need a new car, and you can't wait months, or into next year. So maybe you make a move a little sooner, trade that two-seater in, and get yourself a car that's going to be good for your family. If it's not something like that, where you have a family change like that happening, or something along those lines, then just you wait it out a little bit. And you'll be the better for it, because I think when everything stabilizes, I think we're going to really go into a great time. And so, again, we know that we're going to see the bills and expenses up across the board for a little bit. So, what would you think if you had to? What would you guys think? When you listen to this, what do you think the tariffs? Or do you think the tariffs will boost American industry and start an economic storm in the positive way? So if you put your comments in when you do see this, and let me know what you think, if America is going to get a boost like I think it is, or not. I would love to hear your opinion, especially if it's counter to mine. And so let's just break down this Liberation Day. So when he says it's Liberation Day, what are we being liberated from? Some will say lower prices, right? But I think those are the people who just like to be wise asses, and anything Trump does, they're gonna bitch about. But branding, he did this on April 2nd because he's so superstitious. April 1st would be April Fools, and so I think that it's liberating and freeing America. We're freeing America from the economic dependence that we've had for a long time. We've been economically dependent on items made in China and from Mexico to China, right? Instead of done here, because we're looking to, who knows what they were really looking to do, but let's say they were looking to just get stuff cheaper made and sent in, or they were looking to do that with a mix of, you do our manufacturing and this is the kickback we want, because it always seems to be the way. And Annette, I think so too. It is very long overdue, and because it's so long overdue, the amount of time it took for this to happen and get somebody in there that had the backbone to actually put this in place and tell people, you're not paying your fair share, because we're not doing it no more, right? We're just not gonna. It's not a blank check to Ukraine or anybody else. Allies are allies, but this is ridiculous. And so now that we have somebody willing to do that, but because it's taken so long and we've become so entrenched in just taking it up, because we've been doing this and taking it and kind of getting spit in our face over and over and over again from allies, enemies, it don't matter, that it just became the norm. That's became America's blueprint, and any change from that is going to be met with massive resistance at first and disruption at first. And that's where the volatility comes from. And so everyone, we just got to get over it. It's going to happen. And then we can start moving forward. So that's what the Liberation Day, to me, it means that we break the change of the economic dependence. And so, some of the big moves that, you're going to start to see in the news, and again, keep it in perspective, the 25% tariff on auto imports, that's happening. And that's expected to raise $100 billion annually for America, right? That's money going back into the American coffers. And what could be done? That's one industry, one tariff. So with all the tariffs going into place, there's new penalties on countries buying oil from Venezuela. So that's going to start to bring in probably billions of dollars, right? When you look at the retaliatory tariffs on U.S. trading partners, potentially impacting the EU, South Korea, Brazil, India, and I think there's several more countries that's going to be impacting, that is going to kind of move our balance sheet in a way where it's going to take some of the liability off that side and put more on the asset in, as far as money coming in or investment coming in, infrastructure, new manufacturing plants, what have you. That's all going to be coming in. And so when you look at it, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? I'll tell you, for me, it means that, while the claims are that the tariffs will protect American jobs, and then, of course, you're going to have your critics actually, could actually make U.S. goods more expensive and spark economic retaliation. And so when you look at, will the tariffs protect American jobs? Are critics going to warn that they could, make U.S. goods more expensive and spark that type of retaliation? Either way you look at it, is he was always about creating jobs, always about reciprocal tariffs, and we're not going to be tariff no longer and not tariff back, and it's just reciprocal and fair. We're not going to pay, the percentage that we're being asked to pay, whether it was to NATO or to anything else, when there are people who get more affected, whether they're in Europe and don't have the ocean between us, like in the Ukraine war, and we're supplying most of the money and the biggest part of the money and weapons and everything else. When again, England should probably be doing that. They're far closer, right? So he's just doing things it's just common sense. It's just common sense. And if you brought it down to, let's not say the countries, bring it down to the block you live on, right? Or that the house that you live in, right? If you brought it down to that, right? Right. That's right, my love. Infrastructure. Once we have money, we can rebuild our infrastructure, airports, internet, water systems. Exactly right. Exactly right. And you know what? And who knows how this works out, where if we get the right people in place in some of these crazy states that have crazy leadership, a couple of changes there, especially in the bigger ones like the New Yorks and Californias, and we get good leadership there with this new money coming in, that could be a massive boost to the U.S. economy, because those two states they probably have budgets like some small countries out there. So, but yeah, so, when in the fact that we're doing this, and so with the tariffs, and then you can say, can it spark a retaliation? Without a doubt, it can. Nobody knows what some of these leaders will do out there, but that's the name of the game, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen. No one knew that Putin was going to go in and take the Ukraine, right? We knew it wasn't going to happen under Trump, and we knew if it was going to happen, it would happen under Biden. But you don't know. Nobody knows for sure, right? And everybody's a Monday morning quarterback. So hindsight is 2020, and you can look back and say, "Yep, I knew this, I knew that would happen." But really, everyone thought that China was going to go in, right, and take Taiwan because of what Russia did, and there was no response from America. And that really didn't happen. So, and it's not to say that it won't. It could still, right? But you got to work with the best information you have. And I really, when I boil it down again to, like, if I look at it, if this is my house, if we are going through a pandemic, right, or a recession where everybody on the block needs to pitch in, and on one block there's 5 houses. In my house, I'm pitching in 20% of my goods, and food, whatever, fruit, vegetables. That's what. And then the house next to me is doing 5%. The house next to me is doing 10%. The house next to that one's doing 2%. The house next to me is doing 8%, and the last house is doing say 15%. And then whatever difference is left over, it's just, well, yeah, you know what, John, you do write the check for the rest of it, so we can get the 100% of the number we need, so we can survive, right? And I just, okay. So not only in what we're all supposed to be doing 20% a piece, that's not happening. I'm doing my 20% plus the blank check I write at the end. So I'm really doing closer to about 60% of it. And the other 4 houses break up 40% of what the needs are. So they're really, I'd say, about 10%. So when you look at it, it's very unfair, right? I'm doing 60 and they're 60% and 10%. And we're protecting them, right? So I have dogs that I pay for, and my dogs go and protect their houses. I have weapons, and my weapons are going to protect their houses, and the whole bit. But then when there's going to be trade being done or something being done, they're, instead of buying oil from me so they can heat their houses, they're buying oil from the next block, who can routinely, that we have to protect them from, right? And they go there and buy it, right? Or they give their kids education for free, but I have to pay for my kids' education. They don't extend that to me, even though I'm paying way over, and I'm making sure that they're protected, so they don't need to get dogs, they don't need food because I'm giving it to them. So when you start looking at it and you break it down just to an individual, right, or a block, not countries, and so when you just look at it in that way, nobody who is going to talk to you in an honest way would say, yeah, I would do that, that's fair. that's fair to just keep getting screwed under the right to just get and just not do anything. So when you look at it, to me, it's just like he said, it's common sense, and it just the numbers are big because we're talking countries, right? We're not talking one house to the next. We're talking countries, so the numbers are big, and so it seems extreme and dramatic. And again, everything is working against this because you have the mainstream media, the loud but and nutty minority of the extreme left is going to scream, and they get a lot of the airtime, and so they're great at perpetuating fear and what's going to happen, and and all these things. And if they get asked one question, they wilt faster than I've ever seen anybody wilt ever in a debate. One question. It don't even have to be a full sentence. And why is that? Right? When they give you their answer or this is going to happen, and you go, and why is that? What makes you what has been done to make you think that? There's no answer. They just go to, oh, you're whatever a phobe or whatever ist, right? Whatever it is, they start to call you some names, and that's it, because they have nothing behind. It's just emotion from listening to people spew bullshit to keep fear and keep us, fighting. And so more and more people are waking up, and thank God for that. And so here we go. So with this all happening, you have the tension build, right? Creates volatility because of uncertainty and fear and emotion. And so how did Wall Street react? So again, we saw some volatility in the markets, in the bond markets, the stock market, although we are seeing them move back up. But again, I put as much stock into them moving back up as I do into them moving down a little bit. We are going to have a volatile market, and so it's going to move up and down, right? It's going to move. So, again, when the markets go up, I'm not going outside with a bullhorn screaming how happy I am, because, and when the markets go down, I'm not going out saying how scared I am, right? Because I understand that this is kind of the cost of doing business when you have someone who's disrupting the status quo and saying, nope, no more of this, and this is what we're doing. And so again, that volatility is to fully be expected. And if you come at it with a mindset that way, I think it'll lessen the fear and the stress that you may have, because again, I think that's a trickle effect that happens. When I have stress, when you have too much stress at work, and it's getting compounded when you come home, and you're not acting the same way with your kids, right? Or you're not making the best decision with another subject because you're so stressed and your patience is worn so thin from it that you start to get this thing where you can't see kind of past the nose on your face, and there's it's just like, oh, who cares? It's all going to go to shit anyway, right? The doomsday, because it's just all that. So I think that if you can have the proper mindset with this, knowing that go and actually be excited for the short-term pain that we're going to go through, knowing that the faster we move through that, the faster we move into that long-term pleasure, right? The more we hold out and the more we fight it, the more we fight going to that higher frequency or a different frequency on where we're at, which is why that discomfort is there, right? It's just a change in frequency. We're used to the frequency here. Now it's changing and the frequency is here, so they're not meshing, and we're feeling that uncomfortability. Once we have the right mindset, and now the frequencies match, now we're meeting a frequency, and then all of a sudden it starts to become easier and easier and easier until we start to just flourish, right? And so that's where we need to be. Let's see. Yes, the extreme left literally cannot see what is common sense. The cognitive dissonance is so crazy to it. I know it really is. It's really something to see. And you want to know, there are some people that like I looked at and I was like, I worked with, I know, I looked at and I go, they were, they were smart women, men and women that when they spoke about anything, you'd probably want to listen to their opinion. And once if they get caught in whether it's the TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome, or they just have these whacked out views, it's hard to disassociate them from that. It's hard to look at them the same after that, because it's like, you sound so nuts, like you're so crazy that it's hard to do that. But what we have to do is, online it's easy to yell and scream at each other and say real vicious things. When you're in front of somebody, the percentage of people that are willing to still be kind of low life pieces of shit and be venomous and violent and stuff like that, it goes down so far that it's almost an insignificant amount of the population, because most people, regardless where you fall, when you come and you're face to face, I think that you will have some common ground somewhere. Common sense does tend to prevail to a point, depending on how far gone someone may be and how, but it does start to, it lessens when you can actually break bread together, which, I think, I don't know if everyone saw, but, Kid Rock had him, he invited Bill Maher, who has been really blasting Trump for a while now, right? He had Bill Maher invited to the White House for dinner with Trump, and they had Dana White there. And Kid Rock said it. He said it really good. He said, America needs to see, because something's got lost over the years, that you're either one side or the other, and you're enemies. And no matter, it doesn't matter if your side sets a orphanage on fire, it doesn't matter. You don't say they're wrong, because that means you're saying the other side is right. And the more extreme you get, the more extreme things you'll take and not say they're wrong anymore, which I think really starts to diminish the line that you have inside you of integrity and being just a human being to other people, and having some type of empathy and sympathy for other people. I just do. I think that's what happens. But he said his only aim, because I guess, President Trump was kind of a little, he's like, Kid Rock, which his real name is Robert, Rob, what are you getting me into here? And he's going, I just want America to see that two people who really have been at odds, and, Bill Maher out there being very, very big proponents for, Obama and Clinton and Biden and everybody but you, and really blasting you. And then now that you can find common ground, if you can break bread together and sit and just talk and see where you're coming from, maybe you can understand, at least the train of thought that you have. And from that train of thought, you can go, all right, well, I can see without the context in there, I can see why you thought I may have been doing that. This is really what it is. And you go back and forth, and what Kid Rock said is that, Bill Maher left there kind of like flabbergasted. He thought Trump was, charismatic and funny and just seemed like to be a real good guy. And they had common ground on, getting rid of this woke bullshit and DIE or DEI and the border, right? The border had, like, last month, a 94% increase in performance, only, 94% cut down, from what was in last March of hundreds of thousands of people going over to, like, I don't know, whatever it was, like 100 people went through, like a 94% increase in the border. It was awesome. I mean, in performance, not increase in people. A 94% decrease in people coming over. That's huge, right? And so as they started, hey, Ken, what's up? As they started and they broke bread together, and they went into the Lincoln Room, and they went into the private residence, and they did that, Bill Maher was never, all the millions he contributed, to the Democrats, Not once did he go to the White House. And that was one thing Kid Rock was like, you really never been to the White House? Wow. And not only was he there, but they had a beautiful dinner. He asked Bill Maher what his thoughts on the Iran Israeli foreign policy should be, to get his advice. And one thing we know is Trump will take anybody's advice if it makes sense, and it makes common sense. So it's it was great getting them together. But what Kid Rock said, that's what he wanted America to see, is that you have two opponents that were so opposed. They broke bread together. They had a great conversation, and they realized that they're aligned on quite a bit more stuff than they thought they were. And who knows where it goes down the road? Bill Maher is probably still going to have his leanings, and Trump will have his, but it doesn't mean that we can't be civil, and we need to get civility back. So I think that's really what's important there. So again, and depending on what you have, so you want to see when it comes to the stock market, even cryptos, anything like that, you want to see, what type of stock are you investing? If are you investing in auto stocks? Are you investing in, stocks that the tariffs are going to start to hit, so price is going to go up, so production will go down, or people buying it will go down, so the price will probably come down. So you could also help yourself with that, and look and see what industries do you think will be winners, right? What industries do you think are gonna take the biggest hit? So right now we have experts predicting that with the volatile week ahead, that they think that we'll start to see the economy start to stabilize, or do some think it's just the beginning of the downturn. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to think. Do you think that over the next few weeks we're going to see the economy stabilize, and again then start to upturn, or this is just the beginning of a downturn and we're going to see the market kind of go through a little bit more of a plunge? So let me know what you think, and that'll be interesting, because depending on what your answers are, the next show we'll probably start off with that, because I'll be interested to see what you think, because what I like to do is not just see what the problems are, or not just to see what we think is going to happen, but what plan do you have to capitalize on it and move forward, or just protect yourself, or again, put yourself in the right mindset where if the volatility does come, you fully understand that it's supposed to come, right? Like, if you're a newborn baby, when they're going to start to walk, the first time they get up, if they fall down and they fall on their ass and they start to cry, it doesn't mean they shouldn't have walked. We fully know that when they get up the first time, they're going to fall down and maybe get scared when they hit the floor and they get that look in their face. And it's just something where we go, oh, right, but get back up, start walking, right? Because we know the end result is they're going to be running at some point. So why would we ever stop that growth because they fell on their ass once, right? And they went through that short-term pain. So that we know where we're going. So just get the right mindset in there where we know it's going to be for the greater good, if that's what you think. And I think it'll just move through it easier. It'll keep your frequency higher. It'll keep your timeline moving in a positive timeline. You don't have any worries about kind of lowering your vibration to a point where you're hitting a timeline where there is a bloodbath in the market, and who knows else what happens from there, right? So keep yourself in that high vibe, but that starts with the right mindset and thinking about it the right way. And don't get caught up in the politics and the name calling and the who's a Nazi, who's not a Nazi, and all that bullshit. Don't get caught up in that. And so, you're going to have countries when it comes to this that are going to be in and out. They're going to have some will have a knee-jerk reaction, and then they'll be put in their place, and they'll come along. Some are going to probably wait out a little bit and see what they're going to do, because they don't want to ruin any trade agreement they have with the U.S. because it's profitable for them, and we're maybe allies, what may have you. So they may just wait and see. So where we're going to see the biggest, the real pushes is going to be obviously with China's going to be big. And their reaction, it's still unclear, but they did say that they are, they'll impose their own counteractions, and they're ready to go to the mattresses, right? They're ready to go, they full out mafia war. And so we'll see if they're just, it's all bluster, or they got the backbone that Trump has, and it's just going to be, it's going to be a little ugly for a little while. But again, don't buy those products that are all made in China. Change up what you're doing, and so you could buy products that may not go up in price too much, right? So everyone just adjust what you're doing a little bit, see what's out there, and adjust what you're doing, just so you can keep moving. Let's see, what is this? I think talking about the volatility is so important. It's going to happen. I'm not really sure the best plan to move through it other than keeping the right mindset and living in a frequency. Yeah. You mean you got, if that's how, I think really that's exactly what you're saying is exactly what you need to do. There's no really way to move through it. If you keep reopening, when you keep opening that scab up, you have a scab on your, you cut your arm, it scabs over, and then you peel it off and it bleeds again. And then you do it again the next day and the next day. And then you want to go, oh shit, this thing keeps bleeding. It never heals. This is horrible. My arm sucks. I can't, I can't heal from a cut. And it's like, you keep ripping it off. Like you're staying in that mind for that hamster wheel, and you're going to keep lowering your vibe. So, what's going to happen. It's going to scab over. It may get a little itchy, but then it's a little itchy now. I got to hold off from peeling it off, because when that's itching like that, it means it's healing. And so now I know I went through the cut, I went through the pain of the cut, it scabbed over, it started to itch a little bit. And instead of ripping it off, nope, what I did was I let it stick, because I knew the end result, it would heal. It's the same thing. So yes, Annette, keep yourself in the right mind frame. And if you move through everything with the right frequency, meaning come from your heart space, you always want to use your head, common sense, and your intuition, what's resonating with you. But if you have long-term assets, meaning in a 401k, and you're not going to take them out for another 10 years anyway, the volatility today means nothing what's going to happen tomorrow, right? If you are going to retire next year, or say the beginning of 2026, you may want to count your lucky stars that they propped up the markets as much as they did when weekend that Biden was in, the last administration was in, and they propped up the markets. Take it. You could, liquidate and hold, and that's what you're going to preserve, or put it into a different type of investment strategy. You don't have to stay in the markets and deal with the volatility if you have a set time you're going to retire. So depending on the time of life you're in, that would determine if you would sell out. So there's never any, nothing you hold hard and fast to, except, you have to make the best decision as to timing, what time of life you're in, how many more years you have left, and what moving forward do you need to do? So is it, you're in your 30s and you just want as much growth as possible, so you're going to take on more risk because you have 25, 30 years before you retire? Or you're in your late 40s, early 50s, where you want to start to get a lot more conservative and still see some growth, but you're more interested in more protecting what you've built. So you want it in something where if things move, it can move, but on the downside, you're not going to take too much risk, and you're hedging that. And then when you get to the point where you're say 65, you do not need to take any downturns in the market, especially if you're going to start taking withdrawals in your retirement. You'll disappear your IRA real quick, or your 401k. So depending on the time of life you're in, you want to make the appropriate decisions with that. If you are somebody who likes to invest through volatility, which I think is fine, you can dollar cost average. Silver's doing good too. Silver's up at about 30, I think a little 33 or so. So silver's doing good, and it does follow gold as gold goes up. It's just that gold made a massive move. I don't have a calculator with me, but it's the I wonder what the trading the ratio between the two are. They usually keep a ratio for every dollar gold goes up, silver goes up, or for however many, So I wonder if I can do that quick. But silver is good. Silver's I mean, a great option. It's priced at a price where you can probably buy quite a bit more at 30. You probably be able to buy into silver under $40 if you're buying a mass-produced bullion product, right? That's still going to you have 99%, and that's probably that's what you should be buying. But when you see, yes, Lori, gold's up at but it's up. It was up at last time I looked, it was like at 3,172. So, but it's crazy because in the ground they say there's about a 7-to-1 ratio between gold to silver, and once it comes out, and it's selling on the markets. When I was doing it, it was like at about 78-to-1, but they said it really should be about 45-to-1. So if that just comes into range, it's either gold's coming down or silver's got to come up to meet it, which is why silver was having such high predictions. One of the reasons, anyway, because silver is used in a lot of industry too. But you have to realize, because it is used in a lot of industries, it's a double-edged sword. Because when we do go into a recession, or if let's say the tariffs do something where the EV vehicles, right, the electric vehicles get cut way down because of the tariffs, because they're too expensive, right? And then less silver is being used, right? And then depending on the different industry, if it starts to recess, then the amount of silver that's needed is going to recess. It puts more in the supply and demand. Silver's price could come down. So it's a double-edged sword when it's so tied to all different industries, because silver is such a great conductor of electricity. It's a good metal. Iraq is now shipping super hub. Now over 66 countries can have an easier, shorter, safer commute. Good things are happening. Yeah. So, and again, this is a great thing. So, Lori, we're just talking about mindset through it and stuff. So, whether there's a bunch of things going wrong, and there's always a bunch of things going right, what do you choose to spend your energy on? What do you choose to focus on? And so when you look at this, you look at Lori came in, gold went up again, right? And so did silver, but gold went up again, and it's doing really well. That's so now if you're invested in gold, do you really care about if some car prices go up? Do you care about if if you're putting yourself in the position that you need to put yourself in to really capitalize on the situation, there's always going to be something that is doing well, instead of just sitting in something that is going to feel the volatility and then being upset that it feels the volatility. And so those people always want to be upset. And so you have that, and then you have, again, Lori, the next thing Lori wrote is Iraq is now a shipping hub over 66 countries, right? So now it could be easy, a shorter and safer commute. Good things are happening, right? So what type of vibe do you think Lori's sitting in, right? It's same thing. She's coming from a heart space, because she's looking at the good. And once you have the mind heart coherence, then you got common sense mixed with you want to see humanity do well, and you put yourself in a great spot. And silver, yes, that's in our technology, all the phones, EVs, medical. It used to be in when people would take pitches and develop those old style pitches, there'd be buckets of silver. I had a couple of clients that literally would have buckets of silver that they would. It just amazing, really how much silver came out of that. They were saying. And gold is real. Our cryptocurrency is going to be gold backed. Yeah, and they have some of the currencies. If they can back some of the currencies, or move, if we go into a digital currency that's backed by gold, as long as we have something physical that cannot be just printed like paper, right? And just over and over and over. It has no value. It just has value that they tell us it has, right? And we just get more and more trouble. So anything that could be gold backed just puts you, I think puts us in pole position, because I think it really limits the corruption of some of the most powerful people, which are the money people. Because if you control the money, you control policy, you control culture, you control the masses. Because if you start to fool with someone's money and freeze it and this and that, it real quick people start to come around to your point of view, because they just don't want that. That's how they feed their families, right? So it's a way to keep the corruption at bay at best we can, because we saw it run rampant the other way. So my spouse was in a semiconductor industry for 20 years, and he's gold and silver in the Pentium price. Yeah, I remember the That was, I think, I think Intel, right, had the Pentium processors. They were big with that Pentium. That was like one of the first processors that were like ultra fast in the computers, and we had them in the brokerage houses, in those computers. But so our trades would move quicker. So yeah, that's a great industry, semiconductor. We had quite a few stocks that we would sell from the semiconductor industry. Always did really well. But anyway, I know we're getting going. We're a little bit over. I wanted to cover a couple of more things, but I'm actually glad we went into a little bit on the human side and not just straight investment. But so again, if you're planning to do anything with vehicles, again, you may make a change if you're stuck on one type of vehicle, and that's what the tariffs are hitting. So maybe you need to be a little more flexible and go buy a different vehicle that the tariffs aren't affecting so much. And so, you could do things like that, or again, hold out a little bit and just wait until everything stabilizes. But maybe you hold your phone for a little bit longer if the electronics start to move up in price because of the tariffs, stuff like that. But you have U.S. steel, U.S. manufacturers. They might see a short-term boost because foreign competition is going to get taxed. So if you don't, again, what product are you looking at? Are you going to buy a Kia, or you said whatever, a Chinese vehicle that's made in China, or Korea, or whatever? Or instead of paying the higher price on that, what do? Maybe go buy Ford or Chevy, and that price maybe is going to be affected quite a bit less. So let's get back to buying U.S. And let's make that the norm now. And because the norm has been for far too long to buy a shitty product from China because it's less expensive. And let's buy a quality product from America, and we pay a little bit more, not a ton, but a little bit more, and we build American manufacturing back, so we become the powerhouse in manufacturing and not dependent on anybody. Because that's Intel, right, Laura? Yeah. But because that's what Liberation Day is. That's what I feel it is to me, breaking the change of economic dependence because of manufacturing. Vehicles are going to be water powered, just adding equipment to our current phones. Good things are happening. That's interesting with the water power. I thought I heard something with the water. A guy drove like an obscene amount of distance on a bucket of water, a tank of water, or whatever it was. But I think he drove like pretty far on the water. However, I don't know the technology, but I think it was like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. I saw that with with water. But that's interesting, Lori. I wonder. I would love to see that come to fruition, something like that. But let's see. I lived all over the U.S. in corporate housing. Oh wow! So all over. Did you have a favorite spot in the U.S. where you lived? Let me know. All right. So to kind of to wrap this up. I think that the tariffs we're going to be reciprocal. And I think the days of the U.S. being screwed over by our allies and by our enemies the same is over. I think that Trump is disrupting that. And so I think that it's going to create revenue. It's going to create a not only the revenue, but it's going to create manufacturing being, investment into the U.S., outside countries putting their manufacturing plants in the U.S. because they don't want the tariffs. American companies that were bogged down by red tape, by regulation and taxes and anything else, and they were leaving America, they're going to stay in America because they don't want to get, now if they, by leaving, Trump was going to penalize them and then tariff them on the way back in. And now they're staying. So money that's staying, revenue being created through tariffs, and then foreign countries investing in America so they can take advantage of all the incentives in America. And so when we have the manufacturing coming back, I think it's an awesome thing. Yeah, I heard Oregon's really beautiful. I heard a couple of cities in Oregon, Bend, and I can't remember the other one, but I remember one of my clients said one of them had a great climate, and it just, he was showing me pictures, beautiful, outdoorsy, green, beautiful, beautiful country there, part of the country. But yeah, we gave these countries our tax money. We paid for expensive meds. That's right. To be made, yet we pay the most. Then, yep, that's right. Any other country. Yeah, you buy a pill from here that may cost you $1,000 a pill for a disease that, we need to help it. In another country, they're paying a buck for it. But that's because all the money they have to pay in testing, in marketing, commercials, all that stuff, how they pay for that is making us pay for those pills and all those injections that can help us. And the other countries don't pay for that. They just pay for the medication, which is why it's so cheap there. So again, a lot of that, a lot of that stuff hopefully balances out because it's just wrong that's happening. So yeah, Intel's a rollover. Yeah, Intel was huge back then. I remember too, when I first started in brokerage, Intel was one of the companies we would pitch because they were a great company, but we would actually pitch the Intel warrants because the Intel warrants were, maybe $10 a share for a warrant. And it went up as Intel went up, so did the warrants. And it was a great way to leverage into Intel at a very low price. So I remember that because it was like the first thing the broker I worked for when I was just a cold caller studying for my Series 7 and then passing it and then hearing that pitch, it's stuck in my head still. And that's, I don't know, 32 years ago now. It's crazy. But anyway, let's see, where I'm going to finish off here because I missed a bunch of them in the middle because of where the conversation went. But I don't think we're going to have a 2008 style downturn. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, again, volatility is volatility, but don't get it twisted and don't be, we don't need to use the hyperbolic words for fear mongering that, when the stock market goes down, 100 points or 500 points, that bloodbath and all this other stuff. It's just hyperbolic shit to get people disturbed and your emotion up and make the wrong move. Yep, no, you're welcome, Annette. I appreciate you hanging in there with me today, and thank you, Lori and Ken. Yeah, so the last things is that I would say is so the winners, U.S. steel and aluminum, they're up almost 5% with the tariffs. Defense and aerospace doing good. Yep. International theft has lost its grip. Energy stocks are going to be up, and that's again as we're targeting Venezuela. Anyone who buys fuel or oil from Venezuela is there's going to be penalties on that. So we're going to start to create a good market. So if you look at U.S. steel and aluminum industry, the defense and aerospace and energy stocks, you should be good and not feel the volatility too much. Some of the losers are going to be some of the tech giants right off the bat, just because like Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, just because of supply chain disruptions. Automakers, so your Tesla, Toyota, and stuff. Some Ford is down, GM is down, but you're going to want to look to see if you do want to get a car, move in before the tariffs actually take effect, or uh, buy in some type of an American car that the tariffs aren't hitting. Let's infuse cash into those American car makers, right? Let's get that going. And then some retail and consumer goods. So your Walmart, Target, um, Amazon, but it's with Amazon, it's a little different. They may, they can do sneaky fees and hidden stuff since it's online, and pass through some higher cost to us as doing it online for the convenience and not having to go to the store and having it delivered right to the house. Sometimes we're a little more apt to deal with a fee or, a little more expense because at least I didn't have to go to the store. And so people take that on. But those are the losers. So you have the automakers, the tech giants, and or the ones who are their stocks are down a little bit, and the retail and consumer goods, the winners that you should be looking to: U.S. steel and aluminum, defense, aerospace, and energy stocks. And so that's it. Next in 2 weeks from now, Jason and I will be back together. Doing Crypto Corner, and it'll be far more crypto heavy. This one I wanted to encompass, everything. So we talked a little bit about crypto. And then I just wanted to answer, I do think at some point XLM will be the next XRP. And I think if XRP starts to be used as the money transfer instrument for countries and institutions, and that runs its course, I think XLM will be the peer-to-peer, me to you, just person to person, not institutional. I think that will be the next one moving forward. And if that's going to be what's being used, then it has to have a high market cap so it stays very, very stable if it's going to be the way we transfer money. Yeah, I miss Jace too. Used to having him here, and he always has a good take, and he asks me good questions on the markets. So he'll be back in 2 weeks, and then I just wanted to let everyone know to check out. Through the banner, you can see we have the book, The Frequency Formula, with the grab-avoid codes. If you're meditating, it's a great thing to incorporate. And you have Lisa's book is out there, and I always forget the name of a book. It's like Beyond the Shadows and Stars, something like that. But it's the prettiest cover I've ever seen on a book. And then you have Visions Beyond the Desert is Lisa's website, and she's really doing great things for people in her sessions. There's an hour session, a half-hour session, and then I think meditation is the key to it all. And she's amazing at meditation. So that's my quick spiel there. And Ripple also, yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I think Ripple is their platform is amazing, and they have an amazing family of funds. I'm used to the investment part of it, of cryptos. And besides XRP and XLM, you always talk about them, the Sologenics and the Coriums, Stronghold. And they're even saying that Stronghold, their blockchain technology, could actually be used to protect against fraud in elections, which would be amazing if that they can use that technology for that. So that's good. And then there's also a meme coin that with XRP that if that thing gets a pump, that's where you can make 10, 15,000% gains. So that's all there. And and so again, look for that stability coming through the summer, throughout the fourth quarter. I think that we'll start to see the benefits of everything that Trump is doing now and really start to flourish. So put yourself in the best position. Until then, I thank you for being here. Anybody who sees this after the live, please put any questions in. I am getting them all together, and I want to have a show with me and Jason. We just go and answer all the questions and maybe make it interactive with some of you, where you're asking questions right, on the spot. I want to do something a little bit different, but yeah, any questions, please ask. And again, this is not investment advice. This is just my opinion and what I would do. But by all means, just get the information, see what resonates with you, and make sure that you're diversified and you're hedged, and you'll be fine in the long run. Okay. Until then, God bless. Thank you all.